What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here. If this is your first time stopping by, I'm Coach Gaglione. I've been involved with powerlifting and strength coaching for over 19 years. And I wanted to showcase a little behind-the-scenes training at One Gen Gym. This is an upper body workout with my wife, and just wanted to kind of showcase to some things when you're on the road. Right now, the only kind of lift that I'm really prioritizing in terms of performance and just, I guess, one rep max strength, competition strength, is a strict curl. My wife is going to be competing in the 148 class in November for the 100% Raw World Championship, which in my opinion is the most competitive drug-tested strict curl championship in the United States. She took second place in the 165s last year to one of the all-time greats, Alexis. And she's looking to get her first place. She's won the Arnold, and she's looking to get her first 100% Raw world, I guess, / national title. So on this particular day, we just improvised a little bit. We found the best easy bar we could. It's definitely going to be a little bit harder. This is more like an OBZ bar than a gopher bar, but we got some good work in. And we finished off with some seated curls and preacher curls and did some other just a little bit of back work to finish the day. So in terms of, when you're training on the road, if you do have an actual meet that's in sight, I think it's important just to kind of improvise, but also just potentially be a little bit more conservative with your RPE, your rate of perceived exertion, or your reps in reserve. Leave a little bit more in the tank. We are in a different time zone. We were kind of, running around. But it's important for us to kind of at least kind of get our competition lift training in, and then anything else. I think when you're on the road, it's great to kind of play around on some different machines, just kind of have fun and just be a little bit more flexible with your training plan. Other things that I'll usually potentially do, and I did this on this particular week, is just potentially front load the week with more important training and then kind of save some accessory work for the trip, or just kind of take off. That's totally fine too. I prefer to stay a little bit active if I can. So whether it's be a hotel gym or, a training center like this, and you can see my wife's looking real jacked here with the One Gen Gym lighting. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of showcase kind of what we did, and then you'll kind of see. This is also 1 week after Larry Williams got his pro card. And for those that don't know, I started coaching Larry Wheels at 19 years old. He had around a 1,900 pound total. And he went on to break all-time world records in not one, not two, but 3 weight classes. And I'm just going off memory here. So he did a 21, I think 71 at 242. He broke the 242 record twice, originally from John Rivers, and secondly, he took it back from Andrew Herbert. It was a long-standing record for many years. And then for the 275 weight class, he took that from Stan Efferding with a 2275, and then we decided to bulk him up a little bit, and then he took with a 2370 total, long-standing record from Eric Woolbridge, weighing as a light 308 at the Arnold, most notably in 2020. So here, one of the things that Larry expressed to me working with his coach Ryan, who is also a co-owner of his business partner in One Gen Gym. We elected to do some pendulum squats, and this was after we did some leg extensions, so I'm not sure if we taped that or not. But we pre-exhausted and just kind of warmed up our knees with leg extensions. One of the things, coming from a powerlifting background, we're trying to make our squats more quad dominant. We're trying to get a little bit more forward knee travel. Another thing that we're kind of focusing on is kind of smashing our hamstring into our calf. On this particular day, we elected to do a pendulum squat. We're not really concerned with repetitions. We're just really kind of concerned with just getting close to failure and getting good muscle engagement. So one of the things I kind of expressed to Larry, and one of the coaching cues that I kind of gave him, was just trying to make sure he didn't go over so deep. I think people are obsessed with the stretch so deep where his knees started to kind of fall back and we're kind of losing that kind of good angle. So we want to make sure that there's high torque, high tension in the stretch position. And at a certain point, actually, if you go too low, you kind of aren't kind of in a good active range anymore. So once the knees kind of stop driving forward, again, don't worry about kind of powerlifting standard and stuff like that. We want to try to get as much knee flexion as we can while keeping knee pain at bay and just getting good activation in the quad. So you can see that we're squatting closer stance and more toes straight ahead than normal. Still trying to keep our heels on the platform. And again, trying to bring the hamstrings smashing into the calves and keeping tension on the quads. So typically with how we squat, how we teach the squat at Gaglione Strength, it's going to be a little bit more glute, lower back, and hip dominant, more bent over, more hips, more kind of knees out, more wider. So this is you're going to have to limit the poundage quite a bit and going to keep tension on the quads. So after we did leg extensions, and more as a warm-up than anything else, we went into leg press. I think this might have been Larry's first set, but one of the things that we kind of changed up and we kind of emphasized on a little bit more, not quite as extreme as like a Mike Israetel Renaissance periodization leg press, but we're really trying to, for this, we use a little bit more of like a duck stance. So a little bit more toes out. So you are going to get a little bit more inner thigh work in as well. So inner thigh and quads is kind of like what we're focused on. And again, we're trying to get the hamstring to kind of smash into the calf. Almost think about kind of leg curling the weight into you. And again, I'm almost thinking about, again, doing a leg extension versus a press. And what we're trying to do is I'm thinking about, bringing the knees up and then bringing the knees down versus kind of pressing in and out. So there's just some things, some cues that might be helpful. Trying to get my heels low on the platform. You could certainly do the sissy style as well. Again, just trying to stay in a good active range. But the main difference between how we perform this and how we perform the pendulum squat, a little bit more duck-footed. Still trying to get, you can kind of see here how there's a lot of knee movement, still some hip movement. So we're, again, focusing on more inner thigh as well as the primary and using the quads. So you can kind of see I'm getting good quad engagement here. Again, just focusing on controlling the eccentric, spending some time in that stretch position. And you can see some of the reps were deeper than others, trying to find that sweet spot where I'm staying in a good active range. And if you look at a lot of great hypertrophy coaches like Joe Bennett, he'll talk about trying to bias the lengthened, not only the lengthened position, but also the kind of the mid-range of the rep. I'm not quite as concerned. But we did some short position work. Short position work can be good to get extra volume in. Short position work can be good for a warm-up. So after again, quads were the priority and leg development was the priority. So we focused on quads and hamstrings on this particular day. And then we just kind of pushed, again, the sets, so you can kind of see that Larry's feet are a little bit more ducked out, and again, trying to get a little bit more range of motion at the knees versus the hips here. And then one of the things that was always good, we have a really good rapport, we've known each other for well over a decade. So even though like Larry is not kind of training for powerlifting anymore, knowing Larry's body, knowing what his injury history is, knowing his tendencies, his strengths and weaknesses, that really kind of helped us kind of have a good rapport, good training partners, providing encouragement, but also some good cues to each other, some encouragement. So trying to keep tension again on the muscle and training close to failure. So in this particular day, you could see that one of the things that Larry and myself tend to have some issues with is cheating a little bit with the pelvis and low back and not letting those legs kind of hang. So in this particular variation, some people love it, some people don't. I think it's a good option, especially for a single leg option. It does require a little bit more technique in terms of using your lats, your abs. And the thing that I like to do is kind of think of this more like a bicep curl, a preacher curl for your hamstring. And essentially one of your hamstrings is, the biceps femoris. So if you think about this more like a preacher curl than a leg curl, basically you're trying to drive that leg down, get that hip nice and low. And you can kind of see I'm really trying hard to stabilize my pelvis and not cheat with my lower back. So I'm kind of end up doing a little bit more length and partials here than like a true full rep, which is okay. And then I was really starting to cramp on this particular day. Again, my inner thighs were a little bit sore, starting to feel it. My quads were smoked. They were very sore for a few days, so my quads worked really well. We were kind of a little bit fatigued going into this after, we pushed the pendulum squat and the leg press pretty hard. So my hamstrings were not quite as sore. We also kind of, again, just had other things to do. But again, legs and quads were kind of the priority. So we could have pushed the hamstrings a little bit more, but again, it was Larry's kind of first leg day back since winning his pro card. And we elected to kind of do a seated leg curl. And one of the things that we did on this particular day, we tried to internally rotate our hips a little bit, again, to get a little bit more of the hamstring kind of on top of where the resistance is being applied. And we tried to get a little bit more emphasis on the stretch position. Again, doing 2 legs at a time, kind of that scooping motion can be really helpful. So again, sometimes if you're like a power lifter like us, we tend to squat with our feet externally rotated, use a lot of hip and glute. So by internally rotating, it's going to get a little bit more of the full hamstring. You can kind of see Larry starting to burn here. So we're putting some good effort in. We're not going to failure, but we're trying to take it close. We're trying to get a good muscle engagement and a good burn. So you can see I'm kind of starting off in a more bent over position where I'm really kind of stretching myself. And then I'm going to, as the set goes on, I'm going to like lean back and just kind of continue to try to keep the set going. So a little bit of an intensification technique where you start off like really, really stretched bias, and then you kind of go a little bit more into the mid-range. So this is a good kind of strategy if you have access to a good seated leg curl machine like this, like at 1Gen. So really, really cool to, again, train with Larry after some time. We had, again, a good rapport. We kind of know each other, know our bodies. And it was just really cool to kind of catch up and just kind of, so this is a little bit of behind the scenes work here, but again, everything was kind of based off Larry's kind of needs. And I just kind of jumped in. Again, for me, being a strict curl athlete, I still want to kind of train my legs in a more general way. But again, so I don't necessarily have to squat or deadlift with a barbell at this point, but just getting some general leg development is going to be a good idea. So you can kind of see that Larry's starting to work a little bit more in the mid-range position, so he's not quite as bent over, not quite as stretched. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Stay strong, and we'll see you soon.